Hello, this is Yummy Pajama Man, and today we're going to learn about modules. So, what a module is in a program, a program is just something that you've been creating for the past few tutorials back. So today we're just going to logically divide that program into a module, or actually in two modules. As you can see, I have a module over here under its own file name yt.py. This is the file that I used a lot to explain all of my tutorials back. So everything was in one file under yt.py, and then I have a separate file under the same directory. As you can see up here, K drive, folder, K drive, folder, the exact same path. But then I have another file named simplemath.py that I've created in order to logically divide my program into modules. So essentially this is analogous to the reason why we don't put all of our files that are on the hard drive in one folder. We don't put all of our files in one folder because we need to logically divide our files. And so in order to do that, we have folders on the file system. So we just do that automatically, and I'm pretty sure you guys would know why we actually do that. So that's the same analogy back to the modules. The modules is just logically dividing the program so we can better manage and know where things are in the program as a whole when we logically divide it up in a folder, essentially. So a module is just a separation of code. That's it. So nothing fancy at all. So it's just a separation of code. As you can see, I separated this from the main program. This is the main program that I will run. And so what will happen is I'll import the simple math module here. So essentially it's like I said, okay, I want to copy the module simple math from here, copy all of that, and then paste it right here. So essentially that's what import is. You import, you copy from whatever the module you're importing, and then you paste it in the program. Essentially that's what you're doing when you import a module. The same goes for import math. It's just copy, paste into this main program. And that's it. So again, a module is a file that contains Python codes. As you can see from here and here, Python code, it's just separated. So on to the module naming rules, the names for the module simplemath.py and this module yt.py. A module's file name must end in a .py, as you can see. The .py is the source code extension, so make sure to end it in .py so it knows that it's a Python source code, so it can interpret or compile. You will not be able to import it without the .py extension. So in order to import simple math, I need to make sure that simple math module ends with .py right here, up here, and which it is. So it's all good to go. Just gotta make sure it ends with .py before you import the module. A module's name cannot use Python keywords. For example, it can't use, up here, it can't use while.py because that's a Python keyword. It can't use for.py, it can't use def.py, it can't import.py because all of those are keywords that are reserved for Python. So it should be just come up with names that aren't the Python's keywords. And when importing programmer-defined modules, make sure both the import file and the main file is in the same directory. So as you can see, as I pointed out before, these two files are in the same directory. So if I pull up my directory, the directory is just another name for folder. And so in the same directory, we're in the folder named YT. I have the two files right here that I'm going to use together to run my program. So simple math is logically separated from my main program or my main module YT. So it's in the same folder. In order to locate the simple math module, it has to be in the same folder. And there are other ways to include a file, or I'm sorry, import a file or a module besides it being in the same folder, but that's beyond what I want to cover today, so that'll be later on. So I'll discuss that later on. So yeah, essentially just make sure at its basic, just make sure the file is in the same folder as the file that you are running your program. And there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. Down here, after I imported the module, so import math, import simple math, I'm going to use some of the functions that are inside of the module, including math and simple math. So down here I'm saying print. You've seen the print statements a lot before, so it shouldn't be new to you guys. Using the comma, so it'll create the space because the separation of arguments will create an automatic space. And then over here, what I'm doing is I'm accessing the simple math module. So from the module, I'm going to use the function square root, which is defined here, over here. It's already defined. What I'm doing is just calling it because it's already defined. Oh, excuse me. So just make sure that in your module, before you import it, before you use the function or the variable, you have to make sure that both the function and or variable has to be defined or initialized. Actually, this is initialized and this is defined. Make sure they are defined and initialized before you use the function and variable. So it should be self-explanatory. So that's why this is actually up here at the top of the program. It must be at the top of the program. So when the program runs line by line, it knows that this is defined in memory automatically because it went through that line of code and said, oh, this is defined and this is already initialized. If I had this at the end of the program, this would give me an error because I'm trying to call something that I did not import if I put this at the end of the line. So make sure to put all your imports at the beginning of your program. So, and also precede it with a module name. So module name dot the function that you want to use, square root, module name dot, I want to use the variable py from here from the simple module, simple math module. As you can see, this is pretty much self-explanatory. Now down here, I'm using from the module math, which is built into Python. It has a variable named py, the same variable name as as the variable in simple math. So I can use the same variable names as long as they are separated in their own modules. It's the same way as if I went into my folder and I created like a new text document, right? And then if I created a new text document in the same folder or in the same module, keeping to the analogy, as you can see, it didn't give me a new text document with the same name. It gave me a new text document that's different from the one previous to. So if I gave this like, you know, dog, I guess. And then if I rename this to dog. Oh wait. Dog. Oh. There we go. There we go. So there's a problem. This is analogous to if I were to put the pi in the same module, this would create an error because you have a namespace conflict. It's called a namespace conflict. I think that's in C++. I kind of included that in, but anyways, the name pi, if this name pi was inside of the module simple math again, then there would be a naming conflict. And so this is analogous to this right here in the same folder or in the same module. I have the two same names trying to occupy the same folder, which is impossible. So make sure in your module you do not have the same variable names, which I don't think is even possible in the first place, to create another variable inside of the same module. So that's actually not a problem at all. But again, going back to my point, I can use the same name py as long as they are in their separate modules. So you can use the same name as long as they're in their own separate module. And that's one advantage of using modules. You can use the same name as long as they are separated in their own modules. So this, all of this should become self-evident as you progress along. So it should become intuitive enough to understand. Maybe not right now because you haven't really implemented it, but it should come when you need to use modules. So yeah, that's modules. That's basically what a module is. It's just separation. We talked about the names, using same name variables in different modules. Make sure they're in the same path, essentially. There are other ways to get around that, but I won't talk about that today. And of course, import the module that you want, import the module that you created, such as here, or the module that's built into Python. So yeah, and that's it. So I'll see you in the next tutorial.